Hello, everybody. This is Evgenia Generalova speaking. I'm Knowledge and Communications Manager for Child Hub based with the Terra Zones in Budapest regional office, and I'm happy to welcome you to this webinar on online tools for rights-based advocates. And the first thing I would like to ask you to do is to write in the chat if you can hear me well, please. If there is an echo or anything, please let me know. Okay, I can see people are writing it's perfect. Good, wonderful. And before I give floor to our speaker, Claudia, I would like to very briefly tell you about the basic features of this platform in case it's the first time for any of you. So just give me a second. So as many of you might know, your microphones will be muted. So in case you want to communicate, please do so in writing in the chat. You can ask questions or give comments, and we will take care of them. Also, if you suddenly lose the sound or anything happens, please make sure that the speaker's icon is green. It's on the top black bar. And also next to it, you can see an icon with a man with a raised hand. In case you want to show any suggestions or emotions, like to ask a speaker to speak louder, for example, please feel free to use it. And also please pay attention to polls, like the one you already had in the beginning. We will have some more questions for you later. And also, we will have certificates of attendance. In case any of you would like one, please email us at info@childhub.org. We will put this email address in the chat box now. And now I will give the floor to our presenter, Claudia, and you will be able to see her presentation in a minute. And Claudia, the floor is yours now.
Thank you, Katarina, and thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Claudia Peterson, and I'm a regional project manager for World Vision. I work for our regional office based in Cyprus. I can see someone from Cyprus is in our list, and I think it's a good idea that maybe you can all write in your titles and the organization you work for and the country you come from. I think we're not a very big group, so we can also get to know each other a little bit. I've been working with World Vision for 6 years now, and my main areas of focus have been advocacy, rights-based advocacy, project management, and e-learning. Before we get into the content of this presentation, I would like to give you a brief overview of the organization I work for in order for you to better understand the context, the purpose of the online courses we developed, and hence our presentation today. World Vision is present in more than 90 countries, and our main focus is the rights of children and the protection of children. And we do this through advocacy, humanitarian aid, emergency response, and community development. Worldwide, we have more than 260 advocacy staff. And I say more because advocacy may also intertwine with communications or grant acquisitions or design monitoring and evaluation. So the 260 advocacy staff are just those that really take advocacy as their core job task. And the diversity is quite big because we are looking at staff engaging in local level advocacy, those that do national level engagement and policy work, and those that interact with and engage international decision makers or donors. Advocacy, I think you may know, has many definitions, and it is flexible to whatever the sector is of those that are active in this field. Our definition is the one that I have given on this slide, and our main focus, what we mainly do, is trying to influence the policies and systems that affect the lives of children. And also we do develop programs that are designed to empower citizens and mobilize them and educate them about the human rights and child rights. Considering our advocacy approach and the number and the diversity of our advocacy staff, we asked ourselves, what strategic direction should our learning approach take in order to empower them to act both at the local, national, and international level? So um, we considered the bet between what is the most efficient type of learning. Is it the traditional learning or the online learning? So we started looking at some key factors that define the two types of learning. Of course, and I'll quickly go for this. You know that the traditional learning is highly based on direct human interaction, is dependent on the facilitator and trainer that follows you through the learning process and gives you immediate feedback and review on your learning performance. Traditional learning also implies that you attend a class with a group of people at the same time, and you have a direct interpersonal exchange and learning experience with your colleagues. The focus in such learning environments is mainly put on knowledge development. And for those that are delivering the learning process, their interest is the investment in, and they're considering the investment in each learning session that is revolved around a limited number of learners, which face a geographical limitation. Now, this put against the online learning. Let's see here what we have. We have an interaction with a web interface. So we have to be considerative of a highly dependent interaction with a well-performing design and accessibility of this web interface. You may or may not receive immediate feedback. You can receive that, but you also have, according to the type of the course, a specific timeline for feedback and review. The online learning presents several options. You can learn by yourself, or you can learn with a group of people. You can stop your learning at any time and resume it, or you can decide to go through a already determined learning path with a virtual classroom. And I will talk about this a bit later, and I will show you exactly how it works. The group learning experience is a little bit different than in the traditional learning. Those that develop online learning have to be very and pay a lot of attention to the social learning approach, and they have to be very considerate of the fact that they need to provide tools where people actually meet online, and the systems need to be very efficient in order for people to better communicate. The focus on courses, especially for online, can also tend to focus more on the skill development, because online courses can also provide resources and tools that practitioners, in our case advocates, can immediately integrate in their daily work. The investment in the online course is a one-time investment, but it revolves around an unlimited number of learners. So you develop an e-course that has no geographical boundaries with concerns to the participants, and there's inclusiveness regardless of their location. So who is the winner between these two? There is a place for both, we find, but considering the complexity and geographical spread of our organization, we started moving more towards the online learning. This transition towards online has had repercussions on way we develop the skills and knowledge in our staff, as illustrated here. We considered these transitions and we looked into what the past has provided us compared to the present time. These are the sorts of benefits that the online can present to organizations interested in developing the skills and knowledge of their staff. Now, in the past, we were training our staff for face-to-face trainings, and we were providing them with printed learning resources. Now we have an area of more options. We're considering online trainings self-paced, so by yourself, or blended. This means that you can also attend a face-to-face class, but also participate in an online course with the unlimited number of accesses, and you are invited also to download all the learning resources from an online repository. Before, we've seen that the staff developed their skills through the learning by doing approach. So they were developing their knowledge by getting involved in practical activities or projects. Now we also have the on-job training approach, which means that for instance, for new staff, you get access immediately to the organizational knowledge that has been carefully systematized and put online and made available for you. This moves a little bit into the knowledge management systems, where the knowledge of organization is more sustainable and can be passed over from one generation of staff to the other. Again, the orientation of the new staff is no longer dependent on your supervisor or on team, and you get access to an online community of practice rather than being restricted to your geographical area. I think I may have lost. Can you hear me well? I think I may have lost the.
We can hear you very well, Claudia.
Okay, sorry, I had a little bit of echo and a delay in my headset, and I was just checking to see. Now I will show you what it actually means to invest in this, and what the development we undertook in the last 3 years. I will show you the actual resources we created and the logic behind it. So this is the mapping of our e-learning resources. We start with Advocacy Alone, which is an online learning platform for our advocacy staff. I've put one person under it because it's a self-paced learning experience. You learn by yourself, compared to the instructor-led training that we have launched last year, which means that you are, once you attend them, you participate in a virtual classroom together with a predetermined number of people. And we move on to the community of practice, where the people that attend, the learners that are members of Advocacy Lab and have gone through instructor-led training, can then join the community of practice. To give you a little bit more details and on all of these 3 sections, Advocacy eLab, as I said before, is a quite one-on-one learning experience. You interact with the self-paced platform, and you can resume your learning anytime. You have 8 modules focusing on 8 subtopics or major subjects that we found important for advocacy staff. You have a suggested learning path that the platform automatically gives you, and I will show you how it works. Once you have gone through the 8 modules, you receive So once you have gone through a module, you receive a badge that certifies your completion of the module. And if you complete all of them, you then are given access to the final assignment. You get to choose a final assignment that you can complete. You upload on the platform. We have World Vision experts behind these assignments that review your assignment, and if you successfully complete it, you are given a certificate of advocacy skills, which is recognized by our regional human resource department, and you can include it in your performance agreement. Currently, we have more than 500 learners worldwide, and I think that it's important here to notice that before I mentioned we have 260 advocacy staff. The difference in numbers is that staff from other sectors found this very important because advocacy is key to our programming and is key to our project. So not only the advocacy staff found this important for their professional development, so much so that we are now preparing to develop more modules to be included in the Advocacy eLab. The next one will be a more detailed module on design monitoring and evaluation. It is currently open to all our staff, but we will open it to externals, meaning people that are not World Vision staff, and this can be accessed in 2016. Now moving to the instructor-led training. Now, the instructor-led trainings are, as I said, virtual classrooms. A number of people at the same time follow a preset learning path. The focus is on one topic. It's not a general introduction to all major topics in advocacy. We choose one that is we find is important, and the focus here is on the shared learning. So we enable forum debates, and we give more power to intervene to the facilitator, to the expert that is providing daily feedback to the participants. And I will give you a bit more details later on. Of course, at the end of the course, you have a final project that you need to submit. Either by yourself or in a group, you can complete this project. You are given a certificate of completion, which you can again include in your performance agreement. We had developed 2 trainings in 2015, where 63 learners worldwide participated in on a training on local level advocacy. We are planning to develop 2 more trainings in 2016, and in one of them we're now looking into engaging with external experts, academia, or experts in a specific field. And of course, we are considering on opening this to externals upon request. So do contact me after this presentation if you have any ideas and if you're interested. Hold on just a second, I need to set up something here. I apologize. For the community of practice. So what happens with the learners that attend Advocacy Lab and the instructor-led training? Well, what happens after the course is finalized? How can we continue to keep them engaged and continue their learning? We have developed a community of practice where they're invited to join. Here, what they find are, of course, forums and announcements to webinars that we organize for different sectors. We have a repository of resources, and we organize polls and questionnaires for them in order to receive feedback on how we can further develop these tools. We have chosen what we call opinion leaders. So those experts that write for us articles on a blog, and people can reply to them or use them as information on on what is relevant for them. And we're also thinking of providing awards for specific achievements and initiatives that have been outstanding over a certain period of time. So this is just to engage and to keep advocacy staff together and keep them communicating and sharing. The community of practice has been developed, and I will show it to you a bit later, and we will launch it now in 2016. This slide was about the design and the logic behind the development from our point of view. Now let's look at it from the learner's perspective and how they engage in these learning elements. On Advocacy eLab, as I mentioned before, you create your account and you have in total around 12 hours of individual study that you can decide to take in your own pace. You engage with pretext tests, you engage with text, you engage with multimedia. You have videos, photos, interactive diagrams, and podcasts. You can download case study, you have quizzes, and as I mentioned before, you have a final assignment reviewed by your expert. And again, this is the self-paced platform. It all goes according to your time and availability and interest. The instructor-led training, on the other hand, functions a little bit different. We have a selection process where you apply and we select maximum 35 learners. We want them to have a minimum knowledge of the content of the course so that the learning can be, I can see some questions. Yes, thank you. Can you remind me of these questions after I finish the presentation? Thank you so much. The learners go through a preset learning strategy. You have 2 weeks of study where you need to allocate 2 hours per day. And every day you get reading materials, you have to participate in daily forum debates, you have to participate in webinars, and you take a post-test and then a final assignment at the end. The learning process is highly facilitated by an expert and the course coordinator. And I will show you through the images how it works. Because I think that now the most important part for you is to actually also see it. So let's go to Advocacy eLab. So Advocacy eLab, this is the homepage, and the question was what technical platform we're using. Well, this is a Moodle learning management system. Moodle is highly used mainly by universities because it's a very reliable learning management system. But we had a team of designers that have helped us enhance the design of this platform. Since it's a self-paced platform, we find it's very important that the lack of a trainer, of instructor behind it should be complemented with a very good user-friendly and intuitive design. So I will show you how it looks inside as well. This is the homepage with the 8 modules I was mentioning before. And here is my progress page. What happens here? After you log in, you take a pretest that tests your knowledge, your level of knowledge before taking the modules. I have taken the pretest, and the platform suggested my learning path. It suggested that I should start with module 2, 3, and 7, and then if I want the certification, I should also go through the rest of the modules. What you see here is that I have successfully completed module 2, and I have a badge. It's the little round badge on module 2 on the box, the green box in the middle. Once I have completed all the modules, then the box on the right side, which is called certification process, gets enabled. I can click on it and I can choose an assignment that is related to my field of expertise. So it can be child and youth participation, it can be design monitoring and evaluation, depends in what department or what sector I wish to work in the future. So I can choose an assignment that is very related to my work. And I can also meet the evaluators. This button in the middle, the green one, shows who are our World Vision experts that are going to evaluate my project. Once my project is done, I upload it on the platform. It gets automatically sent to the reviewer, and the feedback that I receive will, if it's positive and if I successfully completed it, then I can download my certificate directly from the platform. At the end of my learning process, I can also give a feedback about how my learning has been, and if I liked, enjoyed, and found it useful, so that the people behind the platform, meaning me and my team, could take in the feedback and the input and try to improve it. Now, we've seen here we have 8 modules. Let's try to see how it looks a module. So if we click on Introduction to Advocacy, let's say, this is how it looks like. This is the standard look of all modules. It's, let's say, if a module is a book, these are the chapters, the main chapters in it. You have a module overview, which talks about the learning objectives and what you're going to learn. It has the sections, the module completion, which is the final quiz that if I successfully complete will grant me the badge. I have the option to download the module as a PDF. I have a repository of resources called the Tools and Resources. I can read about the experts behind the content, and I have a forum where I can ask questions if I have them about the content, of course. Let's say now we look into one of these chapters, Advocacy and World Vision. Unit 1, Advocacy and World Vision, is talking about what is advocacy, why do we do advocacy, what are our approaches, and it also provides with a case study. You can see an arrow to your right of the screen. That arrow means that the design of the platform has been made as such that you can also read on your iPad or iPhone. You can just swipe the pages to go from one page to another, so it's compatible with on-the-go learning. If I go on, let's say, what are the approaches? This is a page with 2 important elements. One is a video, and the other one is an interactive diagram, which I cannot enlarge here because it's a screenshot, but we use different elements of learnings for different learning styles. We do not rely highly on text, but we try to complement it with, as I said, engaging elements like videos and podcasts. To your right, you will see a navigation menu, and you can go back and forth in different sections of this particular unit. If you end this module, you will always have, at the end of the module, you will have a case study. All case studies start with an infographic that is basically a snapshot of what the content of the case study has. The second page having the possibility to download the case study, and we also have recommended questions about if you want to use this case study in a learning environment. We give you some options on what are the main questions you can have debate on or reflect upon. These are the main slides of Advocacy eLab. These represent the main sections. If I were to go to the instructor-led training, you will see a very big difference in how it looks like. Just to go back and forth to show you. And the explanation here is, as I mentioned before, we decided with the instructor-led training that we would rather invest our time and energy in the facilitation, in having our trainer present and respondent to the participants rather than in the design. So the difference between them being that for the self-paced, if there's no one behind the platform that can respond to you, the design is very helpful. For the instructor-led training, this is no longer the case because the fact that you have a course coordinator that helps you through the learning process and provides you with a learning agenda and responds to your questions is complementing the online course. This is the learning objectives of the instructor-led training. This is how it looks like. And if I would go to lesson 1, for instance, we had 5 lessons here. The lesson 1 is for the first 2 days of the course. These are the main sections. Some of the forums are optional. If you wish to discuss any points of the content, you are allowed to do so. But at the end of each lesson, you have some assignments which you get graded for. The assignment in this case is an introductory forum where you need to present yourself and the work that you do. And the other one is the forum debate with a question. So for the instructor-led training, what we do is give points for participation. The daily participation is very important if you wish to successfully complete the course. Therefore, for instance, here you have a forum debate on community engagement and ownership. We clearly specify that you will get 10 points for your participation. The questions are put there and people are invited to contribute. You see a very small list of the contributions. I say small because actually for this forum, we had more than 60 inputs in one day, which is quite a lot. People get motivated to respond and reply. We had participants from all over the world, from Mongolia to Canada, that were sharing about different approaches to community engagement and ownership. And at the end of the day, they all received the points for their participation. I'm showing you how the one of the sections look like. The daily reads, this is one page. You have at the end of the page the arrows back and forth to show you how where you are in the lesson and how you can move forward. Of course, all this content is also made available in documents, Word documents or PDFs for offline reading. Sometimes we have issues with internet accessibility depending on the country that the participants come from. So we want to make sure that they all get access to the same reading materials and in time. Therefore, we also send it via emails. Now, this is with the instructor-led training. I'm moving to the community of practice. We called it the Advocates Network. And if you remember in the beginning, I mentioned that the staff are quite diverse. Some of them focus only on local level advocacy, others only on national engagement, and others only on international engagement. So we split the community of practice under 3 sections dedicated to the specificity of these 3 categories, depending on their learning needs and interests. What they get on the main page, however, is the announcements to the webinars, to the instructor-led trainings that are coming up. We have a resources depository, a glossary of terms, and of course, as I mentioned before, we're really interested in hearing their opinions about these tools and what else we can do to improve them. So we have questionnaires and polls. In the middle of the page, you see the latest posts. This is related to the blog I mentioned before. We try to keep it as engaging as possible and as relevant as possible and dynamic so that people find it useful for their work and for their sharing. The 2 main purposes of the Advocates Network behind the learning experience is also the networking among practitioners. At the end, I think that I could share with you the lessons learned, what we've learned after developing such resources. First of all, what I would like to share with you is that if you are considering in developing courses for your staff, for your organization, it's very, very important to understand your learner and not assume what they would be interested in learning, but actually talking to them and understanding what their learning needs are for questionnaires, interviews, meetings face-to-face. It's also important to understand the learning styles. If you remember the slides on Advocacy eLab, we have different learning elements. That it's also because some people are learn better through visual elements. So some prefer listening to videos. Others would rather print the learning materials and read them on a hard copy. Others would like to learn on the go while they drive, so they listen to podcasts. So try to blend all these elements to respond to them. But have also consideration for language and internet connectivity if you are looking at a group of people across different countries where internet connectivity may vary in terms of quality. The second point is ask for specialized support. It's very easy to upload a document and a video and say it's e-learning, but actually e-learning means that you have a strategy for your learning. You have a monitoring of the activity, and you have a purpose for it and a support designed for it. So there is a number of key persons that if you cannot afford to collaborate with, at least consult with, and that is an instructional designer, someone who transforms learning into online learning, and of course graphic designers who contribute significantly to the online learning experience. The two phases of investment in these type of courses are very important, and they are two. Some people may forget about the last part. That's why I thought it was important to mention that when you do a budget related to the development of the course, you have to think of two phases. The development part, which means you hire your technical team, you buy licenses for authoring tools or learning management systems. And the second part is time and also human resources dedicated to the update of the content and to provide learner support to the learners, because content needs to constantly be updated and maintained if you want to always be new and provide the newest resources that are and updated resources that are available. And then learners, even if it's a self-paced platform, they always have questions or they need support, and it's always wise to have a course coordinator behind any type of online course that you plan for. The social learning part is very important, even if you consider of just having a self-paced course. Try to also connect it either through face-to-face training or the development of a community of practice. People enjoy learning, and learning is more efficient when it is shared with other people. And the most important experiment and or lessons learned that came here is actually through our instructor-led training, where the most important part that learners found through this experience was that they could have the option to connect with other colleagues from other regions, and that the learning with each other and from each other was made available to them. And at the end, always plan and give time to evaluate your learning program. Once you develop the course, you need to always find out if it's still relevant for your staff. So those quizzes and feedback questionnaires that we put in place are really, really important for us to plan future learning initiatives. Some takeaways after this seminar for you is that I think it's very important to acknowledge again that online learning is complementary to face-to-face learning. I do not believe that one is better than the other, provided that they're done wisely and with a good team behind it that plans it properly. The success of online learning depends on the quality of the product that you develop. So if you invest in it right, the online learning can be just as successful as the face-to-face learning. The learners, especially the young, are ready to adopt this new style. So we have to be honest and acknowledge that this is the direction of the learnings, even in our sector. And of course, I know that one of the aspects that is always comes to me as a con is that the online learning is more expensive. Yes, it does require specific costs in order to develop courses, But online learning is, over an extended period of time, can prove to be more cost efficient than the face-to-face training. Consider that Advocacy Lab we've developed 3 years ago. We had a first investment, and now it will still be available 3 years later, and many more to come. And then the community will grow and grow. So the cost per learner, if you consider the cost per learner to develop this platform, is significantly smaller than if we had decided to do face-to-face trainings. We are part of a global community of practitioners, so the online systems grant us access to people we would not otherwise have access to. And I think my last message to you is that we have found that the success of our programs relies heavily on how much we invest in our staff. And this has to do with, I think, one of the aspects from our experience is the acknowledgement that you belong to a group of people, that you get these certifications, that you can be proud of a certificate that you can show to your supervisor, that you had the chance to learn from experts in your field that you would not have otherwise have access to. So these are my main takeaways, but I'm very curious about what you think of online learning as a general. If you have any questions about the tools that we have developed. I'm now reading the chat. That's why I paused. Judith, if you want to come in and address your question. So how many people worked on phase 1 development, and how well does the community of practice part work? How many people worked on phase 1? We had one project coordinator, manager, sorry, that was me. We had 3 to 5 technical team. They were the web developers and programmers and graphic designers. And we had 11 subject matter experts. They're called, meaning the experts that contributed with the content. So we were quite a big team spread around the whole globe, basically. We had people from the US all the way to Australia that contributed to the development. How well does the community of practice part work? We have a much more diverse community, and we are not one organization. We will test it now. I think the community of practice, as I said before, relies heavily on, I think, 2 things. One is to make sure that you are giving relevant and important information to the people that attend the community, and that they find value in it. We're still testing to see what works for them and what is important for them. We know for sure that the forum debates in the instructor-led trainings, they were extremely, extremely important. And actually, the idea of a community of practice came from one of the courses we gave. They said, we need to continue these discussions. These are very valuable. It's a very informal way of talking where we can share and be honest and critical about the work that we do. Where do we go from here? So that's why we created the community of practice. And the second one is the person who's leading the community of practice. You need to be very active and be very efficient in communication and in getting people together. When it's on an online environment, people self-manage very difficultly. They need support. So that for us is the main issues. But Judith, I mean, I'm also curious about how you do it. So you can also share your experience on this particular part, because your community is a bit different. It has a different structure and purpose than ours.
Thank you very much, Claudia. That was very interesting. I can see people are voting that they would be interested in becoming a member of Advocacy eLab. Could you please wrap up in a few sentences what would be the first step for them to do then?
You mean? Sorry, I'm just trying to see if I understood the question correctly. Are you asking what is the process to become a member of Advocacy Lab?
Yes, exactly. Just to wrap up very.
Sure. Very simple. You go on www.advocacyelab.com and you have create account, and you have a section dedicated specifically to those that are not World Vision staff. You complete the form and you receive via email the confirmation that you are a member. So it's very, very simple.
Okay, thank you very much, Claudia. This is time now for participants to ask questions if you have. Meanwhile, we will be putting up a poll asking you to evaluate the webinar. If you could please take a minute to do this. Thank you very much, and I can see other people are writing. Okay, just give me a second. Also, I would like to take a chance to let you know that the next webinar we are going to organize is going to be next week, and it's on refugee and migrant crisis. We will have German colleagues sharing their experience with us. So in case you are interested in this refugee and migrant crisis, please feel free to join the webinar. I'm posting the link now. Okay, and I also see one more question. I will read it for you, Claudia. Do you also recommend us to have a separate course only on how to follow an online course?
What do you mean with follow? How to go through an online course as a learner? Technical. Sure. Recommend Child Hub, you mean? If I also recommend to have a course on how to develop a course? Is that what you mean? Yes, I think if you don't have technical experts in your teams that are able to design the technical part of courses, you can seek the support of other organizations that have gone through the same process to share the experience.
Okay, thank you very much, Claudia. That was very interesting. I would like to thank all the participants for joining us today. If you wish, you can still stay in the room and continue talking to each other in the chat box. And I would like to thank Claudia on behalf of the Child Hub for giving this wonderful presentation, and I hope we will have you as a speaker later in the future as well. And I wish you all a good day and a wonderful weekend ahead. Thank you and goodbye.